This is Joe Leigh here for Seconds Out with the legend of boxing, Paulie. It's a pleasure to meet you. How are you, first of all?
Doing good, doing good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Now, first of all, obviously I've never met you before. Just talking on your analyst career, from someone who obviously everyone or a lot of boxers like to turn to analysts once they retire, what was the reason behind it for you, and what do you feel like has made you such a good analyst, in my opinion?
I don't know if there was a particular reason. People just started taking an interest in my ability to speak publicly when I would have my press conferences, when I would do interviews, when I was being interviewed. People started to make comments to me that I had a certain way of speaking and then saying and just verbiage, And they said, we think you'd make a pretty good analyst. But, it never really crossed my mind. And, these kind of jobs are just there. You don't even know how to really apply to them. You're a fighter. You're not really thinking about that. And then, as things happen, I was able to start stepping into the situations and possibilities and then wound up with a contract over at a big network when I was working at Showtime. And from there, people took more notice. And here I am.
Okay, so here we are, of course, for Ben Whittaker's announcement. I'm sure you've had eyes on him from the Olympics. It's a really good signing, firstly, for Sky Sports and for Boxer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this kid is a combination of a lot of things that you look for in a fighter, and he's got a tremendous branding possibility. Good-looking kid with a great charisma, witty, knows how to have that public presence, but also he's a tremendous fighter and a tremendous competitor. I know there's a controversy with the way he took off the silver medal on the podium, but in reality, a guy that doesn't accept second best in any case. People can take a lot of moral victories out of a silver medal, and you know what? It's a tremendous accomplishment to have accomplished, but nonetheless, anybody who holds himself to that high of a standard consistently is a guy who has that crazy competitive spirit that you look forward to him being able to satisfy in the pro ranks, and I think he will be able to satisfy it. I look forward to watching his development with Boxer on Sky Sports and really making fans curious about him and also making fans magnetizing the fan base towards wanting to see him more and more and more. He has that it factor, and like I said, it's not just inside the ring.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Now, on the wider scale of boxing, last weekend we've seen Canelo fight BIVOL up at 175. His second fight at 175. Didn't get the victory. What are your thoughts, I guess, immediate reaction kind of thing?
Yeah, great performance by Dimitri Bivol. Really, he's always been a tremendous fighter, and not enough people were talking about that going into the fight. It was just the Canelo show, and obviously Canelo is a major superstar. People always talk more about him. He's the one that attracts the mainstream boxing, the casual boxing fans to the mainstream once or twice a year when he fights. So you can tell a lot of people that were shocked were probably casuals, but it's the kind of fight where a lot more casuals watch than normal. If you're a boxing fan, you kind of saw this was a possibility. I was always questioning before the fight the pace Dimitri Bivol likes to fight at. I wondered if it was going to bother Canelo because Canelo never likes to fight at a fast pace, and anytime the pace gets elevated, he does have a little bit of trouble. And sure enough, that wound up being the case. Dimitri Bivol's pace was just too much to deal with, and he grew in confidence as the fight wore on to where the Canelo sort of started to diminish in pace, and Bivol's pace started to increase. And, I mean, he ran away with it. I mean, the scorecards might say otherwise, but he ended up running away with the fight.
What did you make of those scorecards, obviously disagreeing with them?
I mean, shocking scorecards, shocking, and then when you analyze them even deeper, even more shocking and disgraceful and shameful, actually. The fact that Bivol was fighting the fight he was fighting and was down 4-0 after 4 rounds on all 3 scorecards, I mean, that you want to grab the judges by their ears and just pull them right off their seat. What are you watching, huh? Jerk off. What are you watching? Get over here. That's what you want to tell them, but you can't. And then, so there's no punishment for these kind of things. Actually, the fact that the right guy ended up with the decision at the end of the fight will make only more or less people talk about it than normal. Had people been robbed, people would have complained for a week and then they would have moved on. Now that he didn't get robbed, people were barely going to talk about it, and there's no consequences. But when these bad decisions happen, the fighters have a lot to pay for. The consequences of the loss, the politics of the game. The fighters are the only ones that really pay for these kind of disgraceful situations with the judges. And until the judges are made to pay for them, they're not going to change. It's not going to change, and it's not going to help the sport.
What do you think can be done in being realistic?
You need to be honest and not prioritize money so much. You know, I understand that everybody wants the money guy to win the fight, so everybody's head is in that game. You can't watch a fight for the superstar. And I know, you know, human emotion comes into play, but you can't watch a fight for Canelo one way and watch a fight for everybody else another way. Like, you can't say like. You can't hold one standard for Canelo, where basically the standard judges have for Canelo is they're looking for any reason during the round to give him the round. They're not watching the round for what it is. You can tell they're just looking for they're watching the round, and if Canelo lands anything meaningful to where there's an excuse that you can give him the round, they give it to him. You know, sometimes they give it to him anyway because they give him the first 4 rounds. I mean, there were rounds where out of those 4 rounds, there was definitely 1 or 2 of them where you absolutely cannot have no reason at all to give him the round, you know? So you're just looking for a reason to give him the round at any point instead of watching the fight for what it is, which is judging a boxing match. And yes, human emotion comes into play to a certain degree, but at a certain level, you got to start knowing what you're watching.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean a lot coming from me, but it's so refreshing to hear someone say it who's as involved in boxing as you are. So keep preaching, keep preaching.
Not that it ever makes a difference. I've been complaining about many things in boxing. Nothing ever changes.
That's also true. Nothing often changes. But I want to speak to you about what could be next for Canelo. If they fought at 168 pounds, who wins that?
You know, it's hard for me to see Canelo matching up well with BIVOL, especially now having seen the way they matched up. But 168 pounds gives Canelo some advantages back. He comes in as the legitimate champion. It also gives BIVOL an extra hunger to try to accomplish the undisputed title at 168 pounds. And it's a conversation point. I don't think stylistically he matches up well with BIVOL because I just don't know if he can bring his pace to BIVOL's pace. Because we've seen like he's not able to slow down BIVOL's pace the way he's been able to slow down other fighters' pace. So what happens is he's got to increase his level and his pace. And I just never seen Canelo be able to do that. So I think stylistically it's a problem for him. But if you make it at 168, it gives you more talking points. It's a better weight class for Canelo. He's the champion going in. Is BIVOL weight drain coming down? You know, you have so many more talking points that all of a sudden it becomes interesting again. Because otherwise, I just don't see the matchup being well for Canelo.
I really appreciate your time, Paulie. First time speaking to you. So, yeah, I appreciate your time.
You got it, man.
Nice one. Thanks for that.